Welcome back to Quiet Resilience Stories, the space where silent strength draws the line and walks through fire without making a sound. If you've ever been the person holding your entire family together while absolutely nobody was holding you, this story is going to hit close to home. Imagine waking up one day and deciding to stop being useful. 5 weeks ago, I told my family I lost my job and was facing eviction. I didn't ask for a dime, I just watched. What their reactions revealed forced me to quietly rewrite my entire future, shifting a $250,000 inheritance to the one person they all despised. None of them saw it coming. Drop a comment, hit subscribe, and let's dive into the audit that changed everything. For 9 years, I worked as the head accountant for Oak Ridge Dental, a modest 3-doctor practice tucked away in a quiet corner of Columbus, Indiana. My days were spent balancing patient ledgers and tracking insurance claims. Numbers are comforting. They don't lie, they don't make promises they can't keep. And they always add up if you look closely enough. I put myself through a local technical college working grueling double shifts at a diner, accumulating minor grease burns and a stubborn independence. By 28, I had a healthy retirement account, a modest but comfortable downtown apartment, and a $250,000 life insurance policy. But here is the ledger no one else was tracking. 1. Every month I quietly sent my mother, Martha, $200 to help keep her house running. 2. 3 years ago, I covered my brother Julian's $3,000 truck down payment. Money he never mentioned again. 3. I paid my sister Haley's maxed out credit card interest twice when she was layout between retail jobs. 4. I routinely missed work to drive my father, Robert, to his medical appointments because my mother claimed her migraines were too severe. I did all of this because I genuinely believed that's what family meant. I had been the designated safety net for so long that I completely forgot to check if anyone would be there to catch me if I ever fell. The realization didn't hit me all at once. It built up slowly, like water damage behind drywall. It culminated on my 31st birthday. My brother sent a lazy HBD text minutes before midnight. My sister completely forgot. My mother called the next day, claiming she was simply too busy, right after I watched her post photos of her newly manicured lawn on social media. That night, sitting in the absolute silence of my apartment, I opened a blank spreadsheet. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but the emotional math of my life had stopped adding up. I categorized 5 years of data into columns, what I had given versus what I had received. The final total was staggering, and it gave me an idea for a test that would completely tear my family apart. Stay tuned because you won't believe what my brother did next. The spreadsheet was brutally objective. Over $12,000 given away, $0 returned. Nearly 90% of all family communication was initiated by me. The number of times a family member called just to check on my well-being without asking for a favor? Absolutely zero. 1. I closed my laptop. I didn't need the screen to tell me what I already knew, but seeing it typed out made it impossible to ignore. I decided to run an audit. Traps are designed to punish people, but audits are simply designed to reveal the truth. I established 3 strict rules for myself. 2. I would tell every member of my immediate family the exact same fabricated story. My practice lost a major contract, my position was downsized, and my landlord was demanding an immediate lease renewal I couldn't afford. I would never explicitly ask for financial help. I would simply state the crisis and observe their natural response. 3. The audit would run for exactly 21 days. That was enough time for anyone who genuinely cared to take action, but short enough that the story wouldn't unravel. I practiced the phone call in my car during my lunch break until my voice sounded perfectly weary, vulnerable, and real. In reality, my job was perfectly secure and my savings could cover a year of expenses, but the story had to carry enough weight to see who would step forward. I called my mother first on a Monday evening. I could hear a loud game show blaring in her background. I delivered the news, letting the fear creep into my tone. When I finished, the game show kept playing. My mother paused, cleared her throat and said, "Oh wow, Elena. That is a lot. But you've always been so incredibly resourceful." Then she hung up to catch the end of her show. My father was next. He sounded genuinely worried and told me he would talk to my mother to figure something out. But I knew the household dynamic. Trying to talk to Martha about spending money on anyone else was like knocking on a securely locked vault. My brother Julian answered while working at his car dealership. Man, that's rough, sis. Real rough, he muttered, completely distracted by background chatter. Tell you what, I'll ask around. Maybe someone here knows a place hiring an accountant. It was the classic empty phrase people use when they have no intention of calling you back. My sister Haley gasped dramatically over the phone, promised she would call me back the moment she finished dinner, and promptly vanished. For phone calls made, and within 48 hours the silence was deafening. But on day 6 my phone rang with a name I never expected. The one person my family openly called the disappointment. What she did next completely changed the trajectory of my life. By day 4 my father called me back. His voice was stiff, halting and completely unnatural. Your mother and I were talking, he said carefully, reading from an invisible script his wife had undoubtedly provided. She thinks you should look into state unemployment benefits. Apparently the portal is quite straightforward. No offer of a loan. No invitation to come stay in my childhood bedroom until I found on my feet. Just a government website recommendation. Meanwhile, my sister Haley posted a picture on Instagram sipping cocktails at an upscale wine bar with the caption, Self-Care Sunday. The very next day my brother Julian posted a photo showing off a brand new gleaming outdoor smoker on his deck. Neither of them had sent a single text to check if I was managing to buy groceries. Then on day 6 my cousin Chloe called. Chloe was the family outlier. My mother always mentioned her at holidays with a condescending sigh, whispering about Chloe's inability to settle down or hold a conventional corporate job. Elena, I just ran into Aunt Martha and she mentioned you lost your job, Chloe said, her voice tight with genuine panic. Why on earth didn't you call me? I didn't want to burden you, Chloe. You have enough on your plate, I replied honestly. How much do you need for your rent shortfall this month? Just tell me the number, she demanded, cutting through any polite deflections. I hesitated and gave her a realistic figure. $550. Less than an hour later, my phone buzzed with a digital bank transfer. $550 from Chloe Vance. Chloe worked hourly shifts at a local diner and drove an old sedan with a cracked bumper. I later found out that her entire bank account held exactly $850 before that transfer. She had sent me over 60% of everything she owned in the world without asking for a breakdown of my finances, without offering patronizing advice, and without hesitation. She simply texted, "Let me know if you need the rest next month. We'll figure it out." While Chloe sacrificed her entire livelihood for me, my brother Julian committed an act of betrayal so careless it turned my blood entirely cold. Keep watching because this is where the audit turns into a permanent legal reality. By week 2, the internal family data was fully locked in. My sister Haley's promise to call me back was now over a week late. Yet her social media was fully active. Julian's empty promise to ask around had yielded absolutely nothing. On day 12, my father called me from the privacy of his garage while my mother was running errands. "Elena," he whispered hurriedly, "do you need some cash? I can secretly pull a couple $100 from my personal account. Your mother doesn't ever have to find out." Before I could even find the words to respond, I heard the distinctive sound of my mother's car pulling into their gravel driveway. My father's tone instantly flipped. "Anyway, just checking in. Your mother sends her love, take care." He slammed the phone down. I sat with that realization for a long time. 11 seconds of good intentions do not erase decades of bowing to someone else's control. Wanting to help means absolutely nothing if you lack the courage to actually do it. The final straw came on Monday morning. A receptionist at my dental practice pulled me aside. "Hey Elena, I ran into your brother Julian at a gas station over the weekend. He mentioned you were laid off and having a really rough time." "I'm so sorry." My jaw tightened, but I kept my face entirely neutral. Julian hadn't been looking for jobs for me. He had taken my private, vulnerable family crisis and transformed it into casual, cheap gas station small talk to make himself look interesting to strangers. He wasn't malicious. He was just profoundly careless. The very next day, a random pocket dial from Julian's phone landed in my voicemail. It was 47 seconds of muffled audio of him and my mother chatting in her kitchen. "She'll land on her feet, she always does." Julian's voice drifted through the static. "Exactly," my mother replied smoothly. And honestly, I just don't have it in our budget to bail her out right now. Julian immediately pivoted. Yeah, totally. Hey, did you see that new smoker I bought? It was marked down from $1,000 to $800. Oh, that's beautiful. You'll absolutely have to host a barbecue for us soon, my mother gushed. The recording cut off. An $800 smoker for my brother, a celebratory barbecue for my mother, and $0 or genuine concern for a daughter they believed was facing eviction. Armed with that recorded voicemail and my completed spreadsheet, I didn't schedule a dramatic family confrontation. Instead, I scheduled an appointment with a local estate attorney named Ruth Denham. What we finalized that afternoon made sure my family would receive exactly what they gave me. Ruth Denham's legal office sat quietly above a local downtown hardware store. She was a no-nonsense woman with sharp reading glasses and a firm handshake. What can I do for you today, Elena? She asked. I want to completely rewrite my estate planning, I said, my voice completely steady. I want to remove every single current beneficiary from my life insurance, my retirement accounts, and my properties. 3 years prior, I had drafted a standard will leaving 40% to my mother and splitting the rest among my father and siblings. None of them had ever checked on my assets, but they fully expected to inherit them someday. And who is the new sole beneficiary? Ruth asked, pen poised over her notepad. My cousin Chloe Vance, I stated clearly. Ruth raised an eyebrow. Are you anticipating legal pushback from your immediate family when this eventually takes effect? Undoubtedly, I replied. Well, in this state, a competent adult has every legal right to leave their assets to absolutely anyone they choose, Ruth explained, signing her initials. They can be furious about it, but being unhappy is not a valid legal cause of action to contest a will. Within 40 minutes, the new documents were drawn up, witnessed by 2 paralegals and officially signed. That evening, I logged into my corporate portals and flipped the beneficiary designations for my $250,000 life insurance policy. Everything was legally redirected to a woman who currently washed dishes and cleared diner tables for $14.50 an hour. I didn't tell Chloe, and I certainly didn't tell my parents. On day 22, my mother sent a cheerful group text to the entire family. My birthday dinner is coming up on October 14th. I'm making a pot roast. Let me know what you're all bringing so I can plan appropriately. She had managed to coordinate a birthday party menu before she had ever sent a single follow-up text regarding my fake financial ruin. My crisis was completely invisible to her birthday plans. I stared at the screen and typed back. I'll be there. What should I bring? My mother replied instantly. Just bring yourself, sweetheart. Unbeknownst to me, my brother Julian had run into Chloe again, and a tiny slip of the tongue alerted my family that my layout might be a ruse. When I walked into that birthday dinner, a double-sided trap was waiting to spring. You will want to hear every line of this confrontation. The air was crisp on October 14th when I pulled into my parents' driveway. Julian's oversized truck was parked aggressively at an angle, and my sister's car sat neatly behind it. Chloe's beat-up sedan was parked right at the curb. Inside, the house smelled heavily of rosemary and roasted meat. My mother greeted me with a stiff, uncharacteristically rigid hug. I handed her a beautifully wrapped silk scarf I had noticed her admiring months ago, because even during an audit, I remained the daughter who remembered. She tossed it onto the counter without opening it. Dinner was a tense affair, wrapped in the thin veneer of safe small talk about sports and local weather. My mother poured herself a second glass of white wine, her eyes tracking my every movement across the table. As the plates were being cleared, my mother leaned forward, clicking her wine glass deliberately against the wood. So, Elena, how is work? The entire room completely froze. The silence was thick with anticipation. Work is perfectly fine, Mom, I said smoothly, setting my fork down. My mother's eyes narrowed. Fine? Julian told us you lost your job 5 weeks ago. I never lost my job, I said, looking her directly in the eyes. I told each of you that exact story because I wanted to see who would actually show up when I was no longer useful. Julian slammed his beer bottle down onto the table. Are you saying you completely lied to us? I watched what you all did with my vulnerability, I said calmly, turning to my mother. Mom, you told me to be resourceful and told Aunt Patty I'd just figure it out so you wouldn't have to help. Julian, you turned my private crisis into gas station gossip, and then spent $800 on a brand new smoker, while telling Mom you couldn't spare $1 for your sister. I heard your entire conversation on a pocket dial voicemail you left me. Julian went deathly pale. My sister Haley burst into defensive, guilty tears. This was a sick game to you? My mother shrieked, standing up so fast her chair screeched against the floor. You do not test your mother. Mothers don't need to be tested when they are already showing up, I replied, my voice remaining entirely level. My mother turned to my father in a blind rage. Robert, say something to her. Are you just going to sit there? My father looked at the table, then at me, and finally at his wife. 35 years of swallowed opinions finally broke. She's completely right, Martha, he said quietly. We should have done better. The room gasped. My mother dropped back into her chair, looking entirely defeated. Julian tried to find an angle to salvage his pride. Fine. We failed your little test. I'm sorry, okay? Are you happy now? Can we just move past this? There is nothing to move past, I said quietly. I made my peace with it 2 weeks ago when I legally rewrote my will. My retirement, my properties, and my $250,000 life insurance policy have been entirely signed over to Chloe. The absolute shock in the room was palpable. You can't do that, Haley yelled. You're cutting your own siblings out over a missed phone call? No, I replied, standing up and grabbing my coat. I'm cutting you out over a lifetime of empty phone calls. I've simply stopped pretending that this family ledger balances. Chloe looked at me with wide, tear-filled eyes, not out of greed, but out of the sheer disbelief of finally being chosen and valued by someone in this family. I walked out of that house into the cool October night air, feeling lighter than I had in a decade. Chloe followed me out to the porch, wrapping her arms tightly against the cold. Elena, you really didn't have to do that with the will, she whispered. Yes, I did, I smiled, squeezing her arm. Because numbers don't lie, Chloe. And neither do you. In the months that followed, the superficial dynamic changed forever. I stopped sending my mother monthly cash allowances. My sister texts me with actual humility now. My relationship with my father is finally honest. People will always show you exactly who they are the absolute moment you stop being convenient to them. Pay attention to the ones who stay when the columns hit zero. Thank you for watching. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next story.